one or the other, a series where we take variants from any class and see if they live up to expectations or are below par and not worth the time and effort. Today shall be a comparison of roses, from the low skill floor of the Druid Rose to the long range utility of Frost Rose. Who will come out on top? Let's get started. Both the Frost Rose and Druid Rose are variants of the Rose class that can be obtained through opening sticker packs. Starting things off with the Druid Rose. This variant fills the role of the toxic variant, and as such, all attacks will inflict the toxic status effect, dealing 2 damage every second for the next 3 seconds, with additional attacks refreshing the duration. However, Druid Rose does not get a toxic aura, so she cannot deal any additional damage at point blank range. The Druid Rose's primary weapon has the same homing range of 45 meters and lock angle of 1.5 degrees. The weapon fires at 360 rounds per minute and has 30 ammo per clip before needing to take a 2 seconds reload. Each shot fired can deal 5 damage per hit and does have a tiny splash radius. One thing to note with Druid Rose's projectiles is that they are significantly slower than stocks, not only in terms of their initial movement speed being a mere 2 meters per second, but that they accelerate at half the speed, making them have a noticeable delay between when the shot is fired and when it connects to the opponent. We then have Frost Rose, which, if it wasn't obvious by the name, fills the role of the ice variant. Her primary fire is semi-automatic and can fire at up to 350 rounds per minute and has 20 ammo per clip before needing to take a 2-second reload. Each shot fired can deal 7.5 damage per hit and, like Druid Rose, does have a tiny radius. Their uncharged projectiles have the same velocity and acceleration as the stock variant. Each time the player hits an enemy, they will be chilled, slowing down their movement speed. However, if the player is able to hit enemies roughly 13 times within rapid succession, they will be completely frozen for the next 2.1 seconds, leaving them unable to move or use abilities. Additionally, Frost Rose's primary can be charged up to unleash more powerful attacks at the expense of a 25% speed penalty and the inability to jump whilst doing so. The first level of charge takes 1 second to reach and costs 2 ammo to fire. The first level of charge can deal 33 damage and has a fairly generous radius. It also has an enhanced freeze, making them even more chilled than her standard shots. This is also where her unique perk comes into play, as Frost Rose's charge attacks actually have extremely fast acceleration, with the mid-charge reaching its top speed in just under a second, and is as fast as most standard projectiles in the game, making it plausible to actually use it outside of her homing range. This becomes more apparent with her maximum charge, which takes just over 2 seconds to reach, and the acceleration speed is a whopping 900 meters per second, which also happens to be the projectile's maximum speed. The maximum charge costs 4 ammo to fire and deals 50 damage with an extremely generous radius. Like the first level of charge, it also has an enhanced freeze, being 70% as opposed to just 30%, so you can slow enemies to nearly crawling speed with just 1 hit from this thing. Now, when comparing the two, both have their advantages in some areas and disadvantages in others. For Druid Rose, her rapid fire nature and toxic damage over time can allow her to spread her damage output to wider groups of enemies, and because of her not getting a toxic aura, she gets access to a damage upgrade instead, which benefits her performance greatly. Her significantly slower projectiles, whilst initially do take a moment to get used to, can more easily take advantage of the homing and bend around corners to reach their victims, though the significantly lower speed also means that it takes a long time before they reach the intended target, which leaves the enemy quite the large window to escape. Additionally, because of how her primary functions, Druid overall deals less damage than stock for that toxic damage crowd control, which makes her initially weaker in direct one-on-ones. We then have Frost Rose, who has the ice effect, which allows her to freeze enemies in place, and unlike Druid Rose, her projectiles aren't slowed down at all, allowing them to reach the target within a comfortable amount of time. Her charged shots enhanced projectile velocity make it not only possible to play outside of your homing range, but with the max charge, you can essentially snipe enemies far beyond what most roses can reach, which when paired with the ice effect, makes Frost Rose exceptionally powerful. The only negative thing regarding Frost Rose is her charged shots making her more vulnerable, which if used at a bad time, can essentially make her a free kill for enemies. It's essentially a choice between, do you want to play as a variant where you can abuse the full power of homing easier and has the toxic effect and faster rate of fire to make it easier to spread across multiple targets, or player as a variant where not only can you freeze enemies, but by dedicating time to charging up attacks, you can bypass your homing range to the point where you can comfortably snipe enemies. It's because of this flexibility and not being held down by her limited range that I believe the Frost Rose to be the better variant out of the two, purely for the fact that having near sniper-like range on a character with freezing capabilities feels much more impactful than spreading out damage across multiple different enemies. Be sure to come back for the next episode in 2 weeks. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more shit like this. Have fun.